What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Zoe and I'm super excited about today's video because I'm going to be telling you about my favorite books of 2018. I was able to narrow it down mostly to 10 books that I absolutely loved in 2018. I read some new all-time favorites in 2018, some absolute just like bomb books that I am super excited to talk about today. This list is in order, so I'm going to start from number 10 and then get all the way down to my absolute favorite book. I also want to preface that some of these include like series. Some of them I just couldn't pick one or the other. Like I read both or all or whatever in the series, so I just lumped it together. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump into number 10. My 10th favorite book of 2018 was Little Monsters by Kara Thomas. I'm so sad I don't own this book, but I hope to add it to my shelf soon. I actually listened to this audiobook back in January of 2018, I believe, so right away at the beginning of the year. This was one of my very first audiobooks that I have really ever listened to, and I absolutely freaking loved it. It's so delivered. This is a young adult mystery thriller, which I thought I was going to absolutely hate, but ended up really enjoying. It follows our main character. She is friends with two other girls. They get in some kind of mischief, and then the next day, one of the girls is missing and then found dead. So, craziness. It sounds like pretty basic, pretty bland, but I just thought that Kara Thomas did an amazing job. The pace of the book was just really, really well done. The characters were very intriguing. I really thought that it was going to be one specific person at the end, and it was not. I thought the plot twist at the end was brilliant. I want to reread this book. Like, I'm going to buy the physical copy and reread it soon because it was just so good. It is very rare that I actually enjoy young adult mystery thrillers because I think it's hard to really deliver like a punch factor in like the young adult world when it comes to mystery thrillers, but this one was just so satisfying. I absolutely loved it. Number 9 on my list of most favorite books of 2018 was Orange by Ichiko Takano. This is a manga set. There are 2 volumes in the collection, and I read this I think back in March and absolutely loved it. This series made me fall in love with manga, and for that I am forever thankful because I love manga now. This series follows a girl who is part of a group of friends, and one day she gets a letter from herself so many years in the future warning her that one of her friends is going through some hard times and needs some help. And that's kind of essentially the story. It's just so heartwarming and really touching to see how the characters interacted with one another, how the relationships formed throughout the years, and then what happens at the end. I do feel like the ending could have had some tweaks. I would have altered a few things. It wasn't perfect, but overall I just have such a special place in my heart for this series. I loved it so much. I really, really love the characters. I also need to reread this. Doing this video makes me want to reread everything that I just loved because these are so good. I say this all the time and I'll say it again. If you have never read manga before and you want to get started, I cannot recommend this series enough. There's only 2 books in it, which is amazing because a lot of manga series go on forever, so like you're not tied down to feeling like you need to finish the series, but it's so, so good. Definitely recommend. Number 8 on my list actually consists of 2 books that are not in the same series, but they're by the same author, and that is Sharp Objects and Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. I read both of these around the exact same time. I read Sharp Objects first and then Dark Places second, and I was shook. These are so intense, and I keep going back and forth. I can't tell you which one I like more. Like, Sharp Objects was so good from a mystery standpoint. Dark Places was a lot more thriller. Like, this gave me nightmares, but they were both just so dang good. I think Gillian Flynn is an amazing author, and I'm dying to read more books by her. I'm sure a lot of you know what both of these books are. General mystery thrillers. This one, I think Dark Places was a lot more like scary. Like I said, I still just like think about this book sometimes and generally like feel afraid. And then Sharp Objects was just like a crazy mystery thriller. I absolutely loved this one. I still need to watch the show. So good. Can't recommend these enough. I'm not going to go into detail because they're 2 different books, but like I said, mystery thrillers definitely recommend if you're looking to get into this genre. It's a little intense, so if things scare you easily, maybe go with Sharp Objects and not Dark Places. But can't recommend these enough. I thought they were amazing. amazing. Number 7 on my list is also my all-time favorite mystery thriller as of late, and that is The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. This book follows our main character who has agoraphobia. She cannot leave her house, will not leave her house. She's too afraid to leave her house and hasn't left her house in years. I think it's been 15 years maybe. I can't remember the exact date, but it's been years since she's left her house. And so she ends up like using a DSLR camera to kind of like look out into the neighborhood, see what's going on, check in on the neighbors, and that's kind of how she just interacts with her neighborhood and her surroundings. One day she's looking out into a neighbor's house and she sees something really crazy happen. And that is all I'm going to tell you because you need to read the rest of the book. This was so good. The writing was phenomenal. I could not put this book down. I'm pretty sure I finished it in 2 days, which is amazing for me because I do not fly through books this big in 2 days. It's just not a thing. The chapters are really short, so it just kept me flipping through the pages and I needed to know more. I thought the twist at the end was brilliant. I thought it was extremely well paced. I felt so immersed with the character. Like I actually felt that I was, you know, like confused and unsure just like this character was, and just there were so many, oh, this was so good. Can't hype it enough. Highly recommend. This is currently my all-time favorite mystery thriller. Love it. Number 6 on my list is another series, and that is Scythe and Thunderhead by Neil Shusterman. I love this sci-fi. I can't believe I'm saying that. This follows a dystopian world where humans no longer die because everything is perfect. Like there's no sickness, there's no hunger, there's no pain, nothing. And so they had to create this group of people who would then, they call it glean, aka kill, some of the population to obviously have like some sort of control. Otherwise it would just be like there'd be no room on planet Earth. And there's so much more to it than that. I think this is an amazing commentary just on like humans and human nature and what would really happen if this occurred in our society. And I mean, I just think it's brilliant. I absolutely love when dystopians like are something that like you could actually see this happening. Like this feels so realistic even though it's sci-fi and not reality. So absolutely love these books. I can't believe it. I'm not a sci-fi lover. I'm not really a fantasy lover, but I could not stop thinking about these all year. I still think about these books. I'm dying for more people to read them in my real life so I can chat about them because I just can't get enough of this series. The next book on my favorites list was The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. Oh my goodness, this book is so good. This is a fantasy middle grade that follows the story of this town where once a year they believe that like there's this evil witch out there. So once a year they sacrifice a newborn child to this witch so that the witch in hopes like will not kill off other children or burn their town to the ground. Turns out that the witch is actually a really good witch. She has no clue that this is what the villagers think about her, and so once a year she rescues this newborn child that they just abandoned to the woods and she brings them to a new family. However, this year she accidentally feeds the new baby that she picks up starlight. So this baby ends up having magical powers, and so it's the story of this witch raising this little girl, and her name is Luna, and she's got this little dragon, and there's this like friend of the witches called Glurk, and they're just so cute. They're like this kind of just adorable little random happy family, and this book just speaks volumes to like the power of love and true love and sacrifice, and it's so beautiful. This is such a fantastic middle grade that I cannot recommend for more people to read. Absolutely stunning book. Oh my goodness, it's so good. It's so heartwarming, and now I need to reread it. Number 4 in my list of favorite books of 2018 is The Loneliest Girl in the Universe. This is by Lauren James, and it's a sci-fi book about a girl who is the only passenger on this spaceship heading to planet Earth number 2, and it's really good. I was super taken aback when I read this book. It ended up being one of my favorite books of all time. It's nothing like spectacular. There's no ginormous plot twists, although there's a plot twist, but there's no like crazy hype with this book. Not a lot of people read this book, but I just really loved it. I felt like I really resonated with our main character. She was not originally the only passenger, and we've come to find out that like her parents died on the ship, and she ended up having to like commandeer this spaceship by herself, and she has to work through a lot of her fears and anxiety and being by yourself on a spaceship. Like, it's such an interesting plot to me, and I just really loved it. She is a very strong character. She has to think fast on her feet. She's very smart, and overall I just loved it. I loved it. I can't put a finger on what about this book just was so good other than the fact that I thought it was awesome. awesome, and I just really liked it. It's so hard to explain, but it's just amazing. Coming in at number 3 is the Every Heart a Doorway trilogy by Seanan McGuire. I love these books. I read Every Heart a Doorway, which is the beginning to the series, back in March, and absolutely loved it from then on. It's a story that follows children that have gone through something like Alice in Wonderland or Dorothy in Wizard of Oz. Like, what happens in their lives after the magical adventure that they had been on when they returned back to the real world. So we follow a huge cast of characters. I love every single one of them. These books are just so beautifully written. The prose is absolutely stunning. The worlds and the magic that's built, and even just the realness of the reality of when they're returned, and oh my gosh, it's just so good. I think my favorite in the series so far was Down Among the Sticks and Bones. This was just so good. We kind of get like a flashback of 2 of the characters' journey, Jack and Jill, as they find their magical doorway and enter into this kind of intense, little bit scary world and what takes place there, and I just really, really loved their story. Overall, I could not pick. I had to include the entire series. I just cannot get enough of these books. The 4th book is coming out this month, In an Absent Dream. I've already pre-ordered it. I cannot wait to read it. This series is so good and I can't recommend it enough. Each book is like under 200 pages, so they go by so fast. You can listen to the audiobooks. They're just really good. Cannot recommend. Please go read them if you haven't. Totally worth the hype. So, so good. Number 2 on my list of favorite books of 2018 was Wondersmith by Jessica Townsend. This is the sequel to Nevermore, which I also loved. These are so dang good. This is a middle grade series that follows our main character, Margaret Crow, as she is whisked away to this wondrous society. A lot of people akin this series to Harry Potter. It's definitely got like magic school, magical world, little kids, friendship, magic like vibes, but it's not Harry Potter at all. It definitely gives like nostalgic vibes, and you feel like the kind of warm and fuzzy and like magical whimsy when you read it. So I definitely think that's like why most people will liken it to Harry Potter, but it's totally stands on its own. I absolutely love this series. I did enjoy Nevermore, but the second book was even better, which I was so happy with. I've read this recently and still can't stop thinking about it. I absolutely love our main character, Morgan. She's just spunky. She finds herself in really difficult situations and it's extremely hard. I think what's really well done in this book is the fact that Morgan will find herself in difficult situations that she really struggles with what to do. And there's a lot of, you know, like I wouldn't have known what to do in her situation. So to read a middle grade where, you know, I'm a 26-year-old adult and I wouldn't know what to do, like it just, there's a lot of intrigue in it. You can't help but just love the relationship between Morgan and her friends and her mentor, and then just the magical world that she's in. It's so good. This is so well done. I want everyone to read this series, and I am dying for book number 3. I can't believe I have to wait so long. I hope this series is so long. It's just so, so good. I love this series, and I'm really excited for book number 3. And my top number 1 favorite book spot goes to The Immortal List by Chloe Benjamin. This is also my all-time favorite book. I absolutely love it so much. So this is a book that I did not expect myself to pick up. It's an adult fiction. It's a historical fiction in a sense that it was set in like the 1970s and beyond, and I just was kind of like, okay, it sounds interesting, but it follows 4 siblings who are told from a fortune teller when they're young the day that they're each going to die. So that book kind of centers around that entire fact. We end up following each of the siblings and leading up to the days of their death. It's just so interesting. It's an interesting plot to even think about, but then to read it and to really get into the minds of each sibling, every character, how that news like defined and changed their lives forever was so fascinating. It was beautifully written. The prose was stunning. I thought that the overall theme of death and knowing your death and how that shapes your life and like how you live today, stuff like that, like it just really spoke so well into that message. I personally think a lot about death and dying, and so I think I just related to the characters a lot, and each one of them had such a different journey. So it just was so good. I found myself like a little bit in each of the siblings, and I think that's why I just related so much to them and to this book and the story. I loved this a lot, and I will read anything by Chloe Benjamin Benjamin now. I think she's a phenomenal writer, and I just cannot talk more about how much I love The Immortal List. I am such a fan for life. Please go pick up this book if you have not. Add it to your 2019 TBR. It's so worth it. So good. Alright, you guys, so those are all of my favorite books of 2018. I had such a good reading year. Those are just 10 too. I mean, I've read some more absolutely amazing books I really loved. Sawkill Girls by Claire Legrand. I loved Big Little Lies by Leanne Moriarty. You and Hidden Bodies by Carolyn Kempness. I've read so many good books this year. I could not, like, I would take up so much time talking about all of them, but I just absolutely love 2018. Easily the best reading year I've ever had, and I'm just really looking forward to more amazing books in 2019. You guys should let me know down below in the comments what your favorite book of 2018 was. Let me know if you have a video that you made of your favorite books of 2018. Link it below. I'd love to watch it, and hopefully I can add something new to my 2019 TBR that I didn't already have on it. Alright, you guys, well, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day wherever you are. I will talk to you soon in my next video. Bye!